from the Montana Ag Network.
Welcome back to the new news on this Thursday. Looking to our ag headlines, the Montana Department of Agriculture is reminding producers that the application deadline for the 2019 hemp licenses is less than a week away, coming up on May 1st, 2019. Director of the Department of Agriculture, Ben Thomas, has some helpful information for producers.
There were some big changes in the 2018 Farm Bill that was signed into law last December. What that bill did do was remove hemp from the list of controlled substances, but it does require for those states who want to allow the production of hemp, hemp can only be grown under an approved state plan, and that state plan has certain requirements. So in other words, to grow hemp, you have to do so under a license from the Montana Department of Agriculture at this time.
The department will be issuing hemp grower licenses in 2 progressive stages.
The first step is to get a conditional license, and this is what you need in order to purchase and perhaps import seed from outside of the country. Once that's done, there's a second step, and that's to get a full license. In order to qualify for that full license, we need additional information such as where that hemp is going to be located, which varieties are going to be planted, and all of that information is to comply with those federal requirements in the 2018 Farm Bill.
Montana must follow strict federal testing protocol for hemp production, and to do so, hemp fees will be increased in the coming weeks. The department also has multiple resources to help hemp producers succeed.
Feel free to contact us. If you're dealing with someone who's making big promises on contracts to buy what you grow, if you've never heard of this company, check in with us, find out what we know. There's definitely a lot of interest in this new crop, but there's also a lot of risk, and we want to avoid as much of that as we can.
Again, the deadline to file for the 2019 hemp licenses in Montana is next Wednesday, May 1st. Visit agr.mt.gov/hemp for more information. Don't go away, we'll have more news right after this. Coming back this afternoon, the U.S. and China will resume trade talks next week. Representative Robert Lighthizer from the U.S. Trade Representative's office will travel to China to meet with trade officials along with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. Next week's discussions will cover intellectual property, forced technology transfers, non-tariff barriers, and of course agriculture. Both sides appear to be hopeful to reach a draft agreement by the end of May. The negotiations, which stem from the tit-for-tat trade war from last year, hope to bring tariffs to an end for U.S. agriculture. However, the ongoing African swine fever outbreak in China, which is forcing a more than 20% drop in China's hog production, will also reduce demand for soybeans and feed products, which is a top ag export for the U.S. But if the two sides can reach a favorable agreement, the U.S. could be in a position to provide additional pork, chicken, and beef to China. In other news, your BLT may be going up in price. Tariffs are threatening to hike tomato prices between 40 and 85% if the U.S. withdraws from the tomato suspension agreement on May 7th, and that applies duties on Mexican tomatoes. At the request of Florida tomato growers, the Department of Commerce announced the U.S. would end the current suspension agreement. By doing so, the U.S. would resume an anti-dumping investigation against Mexico. So we may see those tomatoes increase in the grocery stores. That'll do it for today. We'll send it back over to the news desk.